That's our connection. Welcome to the most extreme and agitated violence you'll ever experience on the Extreme Three-Way Dance. Tracy, Jenny, and Matt coming at you, tracking the history of Extreme Championship Wrestling, started in February 1994. And here we are in July of 1999. A scant 17-ish months remain on our journey to the history of Extreme. And as you can tell by the shirts we're wearing and probably the description of the podcast, but whatever, we are talking Heat Wave 1999 tonight. Exciting times. Of course, simulcast on all audio podcast applications and on North-South Connection and on YouTube as well on North-South Connection. You can check us out on video if you so desire, which you should, because why not? Mm-hmm. Cool. Look at this. I had an extreme night. I had a fly go in my, or some kind of bug go in my eye.
Oh, no.
And I don't think it came out.
I'm sorry?
I don't know. I don't remember. I didn't.
When you like shake your head and you hear a rattling going on in there?
I don't know. Went in, and I was like, what the fuck? I'm like kind of afraid I squashed it in there. You know what I mean? And like now it's like this part of me.
You would definitely.
I've heard a nursery rhyme. Isn't there a nursery rhyme that starts with "There's a fly in my eye" or something like that?
I don't know. I've been horrible.
There's a skeeter on my Peter. I heard that song.
You know, maybe that's what. It's easy to confuse Peters and eyes. I've always said that. So.
Peters.
I didn't even notice we were T-shirt twins. Also,
Matt, you got to order the Heat Wave shirt for next year.
Yeah, I'll have to. I didn't get the memo.
Get it ready.
I was so excited to finally wear it because I feel like I can only wear it.
Well, I've almost pulled it out for like the last 3 episodes, and then I'm like, no, Heat Wave's coming up. I have to wait.
Yeah.
It must wait. Must wait. So next year you can join the fun, Matt.
Yep.
But we're all going to talk Heat Wave tonight, and it's going to be exciting. I think it's going to be a good time. We'll see. Right. Of course, we've been on an interesting little stretch. I think we've enjoyed the build to this show. I would say a little bit more than maybe some of the past pay-per-views. We're back in Dayton again, which is always a pretty good crowd. We saw that last year, and this is from July 18th, 1999 at the Hara Arena in Dayton, or Dayton, as some may say. Taz is backstage, issues a final warning to Yoshihiro Tajiri and vows to tear him apart tonight. We then open very interestingly enough with a Pulp Fiction, which I feel like we haven't really had too much of on pay-per-view, if ever. But it kind of kicks off a theme that we'll talk about throughout the night, is that ECW, for as really good as like the in-ring has been, they've heated up some angles. That roster is suddenly very thin.
Yep.
And you see it on shows like this tonight where it feels like the card feels a little light and we have kind of a lot of filler. We saw it a little bit the last pay-per-view too. Remember, we had the Dudley stuff all throughout that show, backstage. So suddenly the card just feels light. Let's see if they can eradicate, or if they don't care because they figure what they have is great, so they're fine with it. We'll see it in a little bit too with the premiere on TNN. I think it shows through a little bit on that as well. So on the Pulp Fiction, Danny Doring goes with Roadkill and his side piece. Hypes up his crew as the hottest stars at Heat Wave and says they've been busting it for too long and now they're here to stay. Roadkill just says chickens. Nova's with Chris Chetty, says he's the biggest star and no one will cost him a shot. Chetty just kind of vogues. Jason is with us. He's spray tanning and promises to be the hottest star tonight. We go to the Dudleys. They throw Gertner into a wall and Bubba says everyone in ECW talks about who the hottest Heat Wave star will be, but it won't be them. It's going to be Balls Mahoney, because when they get done with him and put his big ass through a flaming table, his ass will go up in a blaze of glory. Steve Carino's with Tajiri, Rhino, and Jack Victory, says he'll be the hottest star when his man Tajiri wins the title from Taz and hands it to Carino to make him the ECW World Champion and hottest star on TV and pay-per-view. Impact players are together. Lance Storm says they have the most impact and have so much momentum that Rob Van Dam and Jerry Lynn have to tag team up to stop them. The momentum started 9 years ago in Calgary, and that's just incredible. Lynn says he doesn't like RVD. He'll never like him, but he respects him. He's chosen him as a partner because he knows the punishment he can deliver, and he'll take out the men he most detests. Lynn then opens the door. RVD is sitting with Fonzie. He hams it up, talks about the match tonight. It says he'll wrestle tonight with Lynn as a partner with or without Fonzie's permission. In comes Sabu. Fonzie reminds him that they decided this is okay, and RVD says, I have pull. I don't need permission. And Sabu's just kind of 1 inch away from RVD proving he's the whole fucking team. So RVD's kind of not really digging the side comments and digs here that he needs permission from Sabu and from Fonzie to do what he wants, and that it's his show and no one else's. So I think it's a pretty good little fun setup, Jen. Yeah, I mean it was weird to start, but it kind of instead of like doing instead of just doing like an opening video package, you kind of had this showcasing all the stars and maybe some new viewers. And also, they had the, I don't know, cheesy at time, but I thought it was fine, approach of talking about who's be the hottest star. It's Heat Wave, right? I'm the hottest star. I'll be the hottest star. You get this sometimes at ECW, all the way back to Hostility Showdown, whatever we had that time. So it's anyway. What do you think of this opening?
Well, in full transparency, I was shocked when I pulled up the show when we started recording to see that this exists, because when I watched Heat Wave, it started with Joey in the ring, and I did not previously watch this. But based on your description and having watched it while we've been recording, it looks pretty basic. Like I can pretty much guess what everybody's saying. I like seeing parts of the arena, so that's pretty cool. Roundabout backstage. And the first instance in some time filling probably in this show, and I don't hate it, Maddie.
Yeah, it's a weird way to start the pay-per-view for sure. I mean, the Pulp Fictions are always at least entertaining, I feel like, but this one was pretty basic, especially for a pay-per-view. It's like, oh no, I'm the hottest. Like, it's everybody was doing like their I'm Spartacus fucking routine. It's like, no, I'm the hottest star. No, I'm the hottest star. So it's like, to your point, and we're gonna mention it a couple of times throughout the night, it just kind of felt like this is a pretty light show. There's only like 6 matches on this show, and it kind of felt like, hey, we need to burn 5 or 6 minutes at the top of this show to make it feel like they're getting their money's worth of people who bought this for $30 or whatever it was. So it's a weird way to start a pay-per-view, but it wasn't the worst thing.
Again, as we were talking about it, it kind of just clicked to me. It's no different than an opening video package. I mean, when they would recap the matches and everything. So. Yeah. All right, Joey's in the ring. The Halloween is red hot. He welcomes us to the show. We get our opening animation. Go right to our first match as Danny Doring and Roadkill take on Nova and Chris Chetti. Doring, Roadkill, and their lady head to the ring. Joey says Danny has a reputation in the hotel bar, so this woman must be talented. And he wonders if she can wrestle. Doring shit talks to fans. He riles them up. Says he had a revelation that the Danaconda, which is an amazing, it's an amazing nickname, needed to end his destructive sexual tyranny and settle down. So he found an honest, pure chase girl and says, I love you, and then asks her to marry him. And she says she would love to. The crowd does herpes and crack chord chants. It's true romance here. She asks where the ring is, and he stammers and stooges, and Roadkill hands him a long chain and then a condom, which he says is too small for him. But he puts it on her finger, and they hug. I mean, I don't know what we're doing here, but Doring's pretty funny. So.
Yeah.
Again, we're wasting time. But I don't know who this chick is, but this is, I guess, fine.
I mean, I like that they're doing like more character stuff with some of these lower card guys because they kind of need bodies at this point. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely more time filler that Danny Doring gets promo time on a pay-per-view for sure.
Well, the thing is, though, I think they know they need to start building some of these low card guys up because, again, the card is thin, right? The roster is thin. So I think that's why suddenly Chetti has a gimmick. Right. I think it's why Doring is suddenly more than just like kind of a sideshow act in the opener. So I think they're realizing like, we got to try and make something of these guys to move them up a little bit to start to flesh things out.
Smart.
We'll see if it continues.
Who's this girl? Does she stick around or just?
You haven't recognized her?
No, I didn't recognize her.
She will be the future Lita.
Oh shit! Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. She will get a name. She is here for a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't think she shows up in WWF until like early 2000, maybe like February with S.A. Rios.
Yep.
So I think she might be here at least like 6 months or so. Mm-hmm. All right, Nova's fired up. He heads out, but Chetty's slow to emerge. He has a big cape and a top hat. He's dancing, and Joey's in shock of this amateur champion and Taz's cousin. Like, God forbid, you're Taz's cousin. You must be serious.
Get all over yourself.
Everyone in Taz's family must be serious. Yeah, would act this way. Nova hops in the ring. He starts cleaning house right away. Chetty's strutting around. Nova runs Doring outside. He heads over, grabs Chetty's cane, and hits Doring with it. Roadkill takes over on Nova. Doring comes back in for a heart attack. Roadkill and Doring continue to tag and double team dominate Nova. Doring gets a near fall on a bareback. Doring slugs away, but Nova fires out of the corner. Doring ducks, and it's a front leg sweep. Roadkill tags in, hits a top rope leg drop to a pop, gets 2. Roadkill hits a side slam. He tags Doring with a springboard elbow for 2. Nova floats over on a whip, hits an inverted spinning neck breaker, but can't take advantage. Roadkill tags in as Chetty does as well. Chetty unloads on both guys, strikes, hits a power slam on Doring for 2. Roadkill fights him off. Nova comes in, things break down. Nova takes both guys down with a stunner DDT combo for 2. Nova then monkey flips Chetty into Roadkill and Doring as they're rolling now. Nova gets a figure 4 on Roadkill. Both guys get mashed as the partners come off the top into both of them. Doring grabs a weapon from his fiance, and Chetty hits him with a back suplex and a double springboard moonsault. But Chetty's dancing and celebrates and grabs a mic and talks some shit instead of covering. Chetty says he has the heat wave in his pants and then does a dance routine. Doring's chick comes in, dances with Chetty until Nova breaks that up. Joey says, who would have thought Nova would be the serious half of a tag team? Nova ducks a slap. The fiance slaps Chetty by accident. Chetty scoops her up and plants her with the Amityville Horror. Chetty and Nova then celebrate, but Doring takes them out. Chetty gets a springboard sidekick on Roadkill. Nova hits the Kryptonite Crunch on Doring. Chetty hits the Amityville Horror on Roadkill. He and Doring do a double dive off the top for the win. This was fine, and there's some wonkiness kind of tracking all this, but Chetty and Doring, or whatever, against each other. Chetty and Nova, I think, align as a team. Again, they have some focus, they have some characters. Nova's trying to become more serious. Chetty's become more goofy. So they kind of pass it in the night. Roadkill and Doring are fine as an opening card heel team, kind of in the old BWO, old original Dudleys, like that kind of realm, right? Just kind of low card fodder match. So I went 2 stars on the match.
Yeah, I went 2 1/4 on it. It was mostly fine. The Chetty stuff where he starts dancing at the in the middle of the match was that's certainly a choice. Apparently, that's going to be a thing because I think he did it on one of the episodes of TV we talked about on the last episode. So that's clearly going to become a thing. Wouldn't have expected Chetty to be the comic relief in the tag team of Chetty and Nova, but here we fucking are. So that's a choice. But I mean, the match itself was, it was your standard opening fare. It was fairly basic, but some good spots. There was that monkey flip into a clothesline that Chetty hit. I thought was really good, but yeah, it was harmless. It was a harmless opener. So 2 1/4 for me.
Harmless opener. I would beg to differ on Nova. I think he's been serious for a little minute now, and
Yeah,
he's
it has
been really
been a minute.
good. He's been really good in matches recently. I like that. I've always liked Nova. I think he puts together a fun match here, but he gets his ass kicked pretty well. Chetty is a really good wrestler. I don't know about this whole dancing gimmick. Is disco a thing already in another promotion? Is this like stealing some sort of dumb dancing gimmick?
Yeah, I think even 3 count started yet, Matt? Or are they 2000?
That was more 2000. Yeah.
I think it's the time of the boy bands. Like,
Yeah.
So, NSYNC is hot, Backstreet Boys, 98 Degrees. Even Ricky Martin is big in 99. So I think it's just like that kind of pop dance craze was like a big thing right now in music. So I think they're just kind of playing off of that.
I like seeing Roadkill off the top rope. I'm watching
Roadkill's
him climb.
good. He's good. Right now he's kind of in this weird spot, but we'll see as they start to open it up. But he's a pretty good big man.
Mm-hmm. I can see that about him. I kind of enjoyed this. I thought it was a pretty lively little opener, so I did 2 1/4.
All right, we get the full video segment of Tajiri turning on Taz. So again, we can track the segments here that are time eating. So far, we had the opening Pulp Fiction, we had Doring's promo, and now we have the full recap. And again, I get why they're doing it because it had just happened. And if you missed that 1 week of TV, that was probably, honestly, in most markets the night before this show, you probably had no freaking clue that Tajiri is suddenly the top challenger.
Right.
And you're in a heel with Carino. So I get, this is one case where I get why they showed the whole segment, because if you ordered this, you might be like, what the fuck is going on? If you weren't on the internet. All right, to the ring we go, and this is an interesting one. So we have Jason taking on the now named Jazz, who has basically been the female that's been with Justin Credible and Storm, the non-Dawn Marie female. And we've kind of groused about this angle a little bit because it was like No Name should come out and help them. It was one of those angles that's been kind of told through Joey's commentary, like they're holding her down, they won't let her use her name, like. We never really saw any of that. Joey just kind of talked about it. And now suddenly she's mad and breaking out and turning on them. So it kind of comes out of nowhere a little bit. Again, it's Nothing we've seen anyway on the TV we've watched. But Joey kind of recaps the story and basically says 8 months. Like, I cannot believe 8 months already that Jazz has been on TV. Like, it seems crazy to me.
Jesus.
I guess it was from whenever Chastity was kicked to the curb by Credible.
Yeah.
That very awkward segment backstage that time. All right, Jason's out. He's strutting as always. Jazz powers to the ring. She gets a pretty good little pop. She looks great. Jason is so tan. Jax. We start with a stare down. Jason kisses her. That leads to some Jazz clotheslines that won't budge Jason. Jazz floats over on a charge, tries a cross body. Jason catches her, pats her ass, and power slams her, and then tries a top rope stomp, but Jazz dodges and slams Jason to a pop. Jazz gets a springboard cross body for 2, gets a leg sweep. Jason cuts her down with a chop to the throat. Jazz ducks a leg drop, gets a rolling neck snap for 2. We get a loud "You suck dick" chant. I'm guessing it's for Jason, not Jazz, but I don't know. Jason buries a knee and a hard chop to rattle Jazz. Meets her with a nice drop kick, buries a forearm off the middle rope for 2. Jason drop kicks Jazz in the upper back, and Jason's now worried for Jazz being overmatched. Jazz comes in on a charge and gets a crucifix for 2, but Jason quickly takes back over, and I should say Joey was concerned, not Jason. Jason chops Jazz down, hits a corkscrew elbow and a leg drop for 2 counts. Joey says this is all about over. And for as much like making fun of Vince McMahon that Joey does and Eric Bischoff, like he is just as bad as Vince with the telegraphing when a non-finish, like a finish is a non-finish, right? Like, oh, this is it, it's over. Like that's a classic 95 Vince McMahon that he would roast. Jazz cartwheels past the backdrop, unloads some kicks to the chest. Big suplex after Jason slaps her. Jazz scoops him up. It's a Samoan drop for 2. Jazz headbutts the groin, grabs 2 chairs. The crowd's heating up. Jazz puts 1 chair on Jason's balls and smashes it with the other chair to a pop. Joey says he's the sexiest eunuch on earth now. Jason somehow comes back with an enziguri, sets up the chair, tries a power bomb, but Jazz slips out and drives him into the chair with an X Factor and picks up the upset win. This was pretty fun. It was feisty. Jazz has arrived with a big victory over this asshole Jason, gets a revenge. Jason looked pretty good in there as well. I thought this was well done. They stayed in their lane. It was along the lines of like that old Beulah-Fonzie match. So, they just the Luna one back in the day, right? They just kind of keep their lane and they don't try and do too much. And the story works. And of course, shout out to our buddy Jason. Fan of the show.
Friend of the show.
Yeah, friend of the show. So this is a great performance by him for sure to establish Jazz as a character. Jenny went 2.5.
You know what? I looked at the spreadsheet and I was looking at the matches and I saw Jazz versus Jason. Like, what? I thought that was funny. And then I was like, you know what? I love intergender matches. So we'll see. We'll see what they do. I kind of loved it. Jason wasn't holding back really. And sometimes they do on intergender matches. And you could tell when they do. But yeah, it's a tidy little match. I thought Jazz looked very strong. She picked him up a bunch of times. She threw him around a good amount. Like the headbutt to the balls was great. The chair spot was great. She did that snap suplex that I liked. So yeah, look at this little great match. I was like, I'm not calling this a time waster. You know what? I'm not calling it a time waster match. I'm calling this a legit, my second favorite intergender match in ECW. 2.5 stars.
Who did Luna fight in that one? It wasn't Tommy because she was with Tommy. Didn't she have one that was pretty good back in the day?
Was it her and Stevie? Didn't her and Stevie have one?
Yeah, it might have been Stevie. Well, she fought Beulah. Then her and Tommy fought Raven and Stevie, and then she fought Stevie.
Yeah.
And I mean, I went 3 on both of those. You went 3.25, Jenny, on both of those.
Shit, it's my third favorite.
Yeah, but I mean, those are the 3 really good ones. Yeah, the Luna one.
I love
Beulah and Fonzie's awesome. I mean, that's a classic.
Yeah, that's an all-timer.
Yeah, and then this one. This one's good too. So kudos to them, Matt.
Hell yeah. I was thrilled to watch this.
Yeah, I mean, I went 2 3/4 on this. Just
you did.
Super, like really fun, kind of out of nowhere. Wasn't expecting much out of it when you see this on the sheet, sort of to your point, Jenny. And then you watch it, and it's like, holy shit, this is really great. Like Jazz at one point just deadlifts Jason up and gives him a fucking Samoan drop. Like that was super impressive. The chair shots were impressive. Just, yeah, I mean, really fun match, exceeded my expectations. So I want to see more of Jazz. I want to see more of the intergender stuff. Just throw her in there with, you know, Jason, Credible, whoever, that whole crew. I think they can all be like really fun matches, just like this one was. So yeah, 2 3/4 for me. Very out of nowhere fun match.
You wonder why ECW never had like a women's division. Like, I kind of wonder why not.
I would feel like they didn't. I think they thought they didn't need it. Like, I think they integrated the women so well just into all the story, because it's such a story-based promotion more than like wrestling-based in some ways, that I think they felt like the women were so integrated into the story, the main. There's like no divisions. It's just like everyone does everything. So I think maybe they just looked at it that way, and it's like, and also women's wrestling in the '90s in
bullshit.
North America is garbage. So
Yeah,
it's almost better they didn't. Like the way they mixed them in was, I think, way more. I would say they used women the best of the big three. Now with that came a lot of
bullshit,
degrading shit and nonsense, right? But I think they showcased and used them in big positions and spots and as characters way more. I mean, WWF until '98, you know, had Sunny, Marlena, and Sable, and then China was well used. But and even then, it's still all eye candy and TNA until, you know, like 01 when they finally try and get serious with it. And WCW is a shit show. So it's like, I think as far as presenting them as like big part of the show, they were the best in North America for sure. So,
and they're beloved in the promotion, like Beulah was, Fran is.
Oh yeah, they're icons of ECW.
Yeah.
I mean, when we do our top 50 list, I expect there's going to be at least, you know, right, not to surprise too much, but at the end of the show, we're planning on doing like our top 50 greatest ECW performers, right? So, I mean, I think they're going. Beulah and Francine alone will definitely be on that list for sure.
High on my list.
Yeah,
easily.
For years too, like for years they were around.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, Francine's been here since '95, and she's here until the end, I believe. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So I'll say what I'm always going to say when Jazz is on screen. Jazz is victorious, because back in college, when we'd have our drunken wrestling matches, we had one little roommate, little Steve, this little Weasley guy. We used to make him be Jazz when we wrestled, and he would come in and he'd stand like this tall, and Jazz will be victorious. And was
his entrance music Pepino or whatever the mouse?
Yeah, it should have been. I know it should have been. Anyway, I cannot think of Jazz without hearing in his little voice, Jazz is victorious. Cyrus is in the booth. Joey says, "You're not in the format." So Cyrus just takes it and writes his name down and says, "Now I am." And then Joey's very anal. Paul asked him to come up there and give Joey the rub. Joey says Cyrus is rubbing nothing, and my wife is here. Cyrus says that us at Character Development are very pleased at how Joey's coming along and developing, and they love his brilliant tagline. Oh my goodness! Joey sarcastically says, "I can't see why Vince fired you." And Cyrus says, "I'm office." So any thoughts, Matt, on this?
God,
Cyrus interlude.
This was great. I mean, just have Cyrus talk. Like, just give him a full episode of TV at this point. Just let him talk just let him and Joey talk together. Honestly, like they're back and forth. Like this, I was dying at the oh my goodness, brilliant, fantastic. It was so good.
Joey saying my wife is here. It's like, what? They're you know, have mixed feelings on Cyrus most of the time. This is probably my favorite thing I've seen him do so far.
Well, the funny thing is, I think you could look at, it's one thing that could maybe not hold up because they've done like the insider shoot stuff so fucking much since 1999. But at the time, it was still pretty new. And like, we didn't even have that schlub Mark Madden doing it yet on WC. Like, you know, he would do it a lot. Russo hadn't really infiltrated fully with his stuff yet when he gets to WCW shortly after this. So this is still kind of early on with like the wink, wink, us in creative and, you know, whatever. Like, it's still kind of new. But I could see why it also could maybe not hold up in a way that you're burnt on it after all these years. Like, if it's still, you know, right down to AEW today, right? They still kind of joke about this kind of stuff, like the EVPs and all the stupid shit. So, anyway. All right, back there we go. As Super Crazy is here to take on our good friend, Little Guido. And that, of course, means it is time for our Italian lesson of the week. For today's lesson, we're going to head to the world of television.
No.
Now, it might not be the show you're thinking that we're going to talk about. One of a great Italian legacy, featuring strong Italian-American characters. It's quite beloved. I'd say really thought well of by folks that watched it both in the moment. Maybe go back to revisit it today. You may see some memes about it. And it has some ties to what we're talking about tonight, the world of wrestling. So no, it's not, of course, The Sopranos. It is a show that 20 years before, maybe.
Hey, paisanos, it's the Super Mario Brothers Super Show.
Oh, boy.
With the Mario Brothers and plumbing's a game. We're not like the others who get all the fame. If you think it's in trouble,
We're going to talk about the Super Mario Brothers Super Show. Of course, this aired, I think it was mainly in syndication, right? But it aired from September 4th to December 1st, 1989. Now, if you told me that this fucking show only aired for 4 months, I would not believe you. But in that one season, do you want to take a guess at how many episodes there are? I'm assuming
35.
Wikipedia is correct.
I was going to say, if it's like an every week thing, it was probably on every week. So I would say like 40, 45, something like that.
65 episodes.
Good
Jesus
Lord.
Christ.
But it was not every week. It was daily except for Fridays. If you recall, it would air Monday through Thursday. And on Friday was Legends of Zelda cartoon. So Super Mario Brothers was Monday through Thursday. So even though it's only 4 months, when you're airing 4 days a week, you can rack up those episodes pretty quickly. It's based on the video games Super Mario Brothers and Super Mario Bros. 2. And it's the first of 3 television series to be based upon the Mario video game series. Of course, each episode consists of live action segments in between the cartoons. And Jenny, do you know who played Mario?
No.
It was the one and only Captain Lou Albano.
Oh,
played
shit.
Mario. And Danny Wells is Luigi. They'd have special guests. And, of course, they would do little skits. They would be in their little basement. And then they'd throw it to the cartoon. And then the story itself would be the cartoon of Mario and Luigi in the world of Super Mario. The reminder of the program is dedicated to the animated stories of Super Mario Brothers, starring the voices of Albano and Wells in their respective roles, exhibited Monday through Thursday. The Friday episode of Super Mario Bros. Super Show was instead accompanied by the animated serials based on Nintendo's Legend of Zelda video game series. Sequel series based on Super Mario Bros. 3 aired the following year, followed by another show based on Super Mario World the year after that. The show revolves around Mario and Luigi, 2 Italian-American plumbers from Brooklyn. The live-action segments, a parody of contemporary sitcoms, are set in Brooklyn and deal with the peculiarities of running a plumbing business in the late 1980s. So, I believe this is streaming. I know I've kind of checked it out, or at the very least, I know it's on YouTube. So I recommend going to check it out for sure. It was a pretty fun little show. I mean, I loved it as a kid. It was like must-see TV for me. I hated Fridays because I was not a fan of the Zelda games. No. And I was not a fan of Zelda taking over my Mario Brothers on TV either. So.
Was Dennis Hopper Bowser?
He may have been. I hope. And then he reprised it later with John Leguizamo.
Right.
Hey, paisanos, it's the Super Mario Brothers Super Show.
Did you feel like it really connected to your Italian heritage?
No, I was more just the Nintendo aspect of it.
Oh, right.
But I mean, my whole life was Italian at that point, right? I hadn't really been exposed to much else at 8 years old. So I think, for me, maybe it did, and I just didn't realize it because it was just like me, I guess. But a little short Italian guy with the mustache. But I think, I don't know. I remember watching it kind of recently, and I thought it still was pretty funny. But again, I have a lot of nostalgia for it, for sure. But I just think it's just an amazing franchise of a thing that was created.
Oh,
you think of the volume of games that still exist, and right down to the movie that came out last year that was phenomenal. That
was good.
It was a fantastic movie in both the nostalgia and attractiveness to current children.
Yep.
Anyway, wanted to make sure we got that in our Italian lesson of the week because it's a big piece of Italian culture.
Now, Evil Cooper and his troopers are up to misbehaving. They kidnapped the Princess Mushroom Land needs saving.
All right. So, Little Guido is taking on Super Crazy. We go to the ring. Continue to build up this mid-card. Little Guido rides Big Sally Graziano to the ring. Joe reminds us that he is only 26 despite his experience. Guido's been trained in submission shoot style by Billy Robinson in Japan. Crazy's out to a pop. We get a little bit of stalling. We get some announcer hype. Cyrus hangs in the booth. He says he thinks he had the Sicilian crabs once as we get a lockup and a clean break and more stalling along with "Where's my pizza" chants for Sal. We also see the infamous pink windbreaker guy in the front. Of course, he's a big Midwest wrestling fan. He's at multiple WrestleManias and other big Dirty programs. I think he's even in a couple WCW ones as well. But he is here in full pink windbreaker glory. Guido grabs the arm, leading to a quick flurry of arm drags, trips into a reset. Guido baits Crazy with a handshake, counters into a springboard, into a Fujiwara armbar. Crazy crosses the ropes, ends up backdrop to the apron, snaps Guido across the top rope, barrels into him with a quebrada for 2. Crazy misses a springboard moonsault. Guido gets a springing neckbreaker for 2. Crazy reverses a whip, hits a hard clothesline in the corner, hammers away as Cyrus calls him out for playing to the fans. Guido comes back with a back elbow, scales the corner, but Crazy walks out with a stiff release powerbomb and moonsault press for 2. Sal trips up Crazy, but Crazy ducks a charge, throws Guido to the floor. Crazy follows out and slings him to the crowd, heads back out as well, gets another moonsault press on the floor. Crazy scales the balcony, flies into Guido and Sal, the moonsault to a big pop. Everyone crawls back to ringside. Guido's hurting. Sal distracts Crazy. Guido gets a neck breaker for 2, stomps away. We get chops from both into a Crazy flying head scissors and springboard spin heel kick for 2. Cyrus is all over Crazy here as he heads outside, tries to springboard and catches 2 boots to the face. Guido gets a Sicilian slice for 2, slings Crazy outside where Sal works him over, avalanches him into the railing. Power slams him on the floor. That looks like it hurt. Back inside, Guido gets a powerbomb for 2 and then ties up the ref as Sal comes in. It's a rocker dropper on Guido. On Crazy for a Guido near fall. Guido blocks a float over with a pancake for 2, goes to a hammerlock. Crazy gets a tornado DDT for 2. Crazy misses a springboard moonsault. Guido gets back to work with some strikes. Crazy dodges a charge, chops Guido, gets a sit-out driver, hits 2 moonsaults before springboarding into Sal on the floor. Crazy misses a moonsault back in. Guido gets a Tamikaze for 2. Crazy kicks away, and after a quick reversal, hits a nasty Tiger release powerbomb for the win. Great match as always for these guys. Crazy looked fantastic. He's resilient over and over through tough offense and Sal's antics. Guido can go and showed it again. He can work with anyone. Crazy endures, gets revenge and a big win. And we just keep rolling with this awesome mid-card, Jenny. I went 3.5 stars, and I could watch this all day.
So the crowd was really hot for this. So high expectations, I think, from all of us, really, on this match. We've seen them before. I thought they changed it up quite a bit from what they've previously done, which is good. I like to see the progression in these matches. They brawl in the crowd a bit. That Crazy does that super sick moonsault off the balcony area, which is nuts. I love the Big Sal interference. Again, really well used in this match. A lot of desperation sort of offense by Guido. He just goes for and they address it in commentary. It's like he just goes for the cover, like so much. He's just always like kind of scrambling around like a little Sicilian crab, trying to get the pin. It got a little annoying because there were so many kickouts. So I would beg Guido to like maybe contain his energy a little bit. He's just a little too manic in the ring, like in this match. I would like to see him a little bit kind of more settled, but he's like, they talk about, his hot blood and he's has a quick fuse and shit like that. So it's kind of addressed in commentary. I really like Super Crazy going for the triple moonsault deal that he does in the corner, and then he fucks it up. Like he can't get the top rope one, and then he says fuck it, and then dives over onto Sal on the floor. The crowd started to go in on him at that, with you fucked up, and then he just went over and killed Sal, and everybody shut up. So that was great. I thought the finish was odd. It just stopped. Very appropriate. Like it was like that Tiger Power Bomb just totally melted Guido.
I don't mind it sometimes though, because like not every match needs like a obvious hot final sequence. It's like he just fucking took him out and knocked him out and pinned him. And like sometimes that happens in a fight. Like you just end it with a shot you weren't expecting, maybe.
Yeah, it felt a little premature, not gonna lie.
And they have time. We know that.
They do. Yeah, we got the time. So that was another thing. And they were building really well. Like I thought they had established like a really cool little match here. And then I'm just dinging it because it just felt a little too abrupt there at the end for me. But overall, fantastic match. 3.5 stars.
Wow. I went 3.25 on it. A lot of it because of the finish. I thought the finish was way too abrupt like you. And honestly, this could have used more time, sort of like to your point. Like it just felt like they were going, and then it just ended. Like, and this is certainly a show where they could have, you could have given them 5 more minutes easily, as some of the stuff we'll talk about. So I did like the match, but it was missing that extra thing that I think we've seen in some of their other matches. Like it was still very good. I mean, 3.25, but something was missing. It was the finish. It was quick, but it was still very good. Sal was great. Again, Sal's been awesome as Guido's muscle here. That power slam on the floor was disgusting. The slice was disgusting. So I've enjoyed Sal. He's added a new wrinkle to
He's been awesome.
Guido. He's been fantastic these past couple of months. So it was
he's not just a fat guy ringside. He's like super active.
For a guy that big to be able to do like that type of shit and crash on the floor every week is super impressive. It's just so he's been entertaining. But yeah, it was a very good match. But we've seen better out of these guys for sure. So 3.25.
I wonder, do they have any more matches? Because I feel like it was pretty definitive as far as like.
Oh, I'm sure
probably done. Like I don't know. Like
I think both guys are here to the end, so I'm sure they fight again. I think we're probably far from over with these guys. I don't know if it's right now, but I'm sure I don't think this is it. Is my guess.
Okay. Do you remember the rap song? Do you remember the rap song from that?
Like, could I rap it? No, but I do remember the song.
Arms from side to side. Come on, it's time to go. Do the Mario take.
Like I probably would listen to the rap enough. Like I used to like the ninja rap, like that one. I could maybe kind of
pull together. Everybody loves that.
Yep.
All right, we're in the nest. Joey tells Cyrus he's not office. He can't fire or promote him, so he can stop kissing his ass. But Cyrus says he's having a great time. Joey says Joey's a true piece of talent. Joey talks about the big TNN debut on August 27th, gives us the details. Cyrus says they'll be in 100 to 200 million homes. And Joey says, no, it's 80 million. Only they would. I don't know why they're downplaying. Why would you make it sound, Cyrus should went the other way. Be like, oh, we're going to get 40 million homes. And Joey just said, actually, it's 80 million.
Yeah.
Made it sound stupid. Anyway, the first taping is August 14th in Toledo. And Joey says, if you're a real ECW fan, you need to be part of the biggest night in history. Are you surprised they did the first taping in Toledo?
Yeah, that's a weird choice.
Random.
How about Philly? Let's do it there.
Yeah, why not? Honestly.
Or Queens. Yeah, one of the two.
Right.
One of the two. And they've had time. You tell me they couldn't get one of them booked. I mean, it's not like they just got sprung on them,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Brings us to our tag title match. It's been a very hot feud, of course. So the Dudley Boys are set to defend the ECW tag team titles against Balls Mahoney. And we'll find out. The Dudleys are out to loud boos, running their mouths as Joey wonders how much punishment one man can take and can Balls endure anymore. Bubba says these are the only belts that mean anything in wrestling and challenge anyone to come on and take on the greatest of all time. Joel still has his mask on, of course. Him and the sign guy are trying to rally the fans. Devon gets the mic, says they've turned the heat up more than normal and tell the fans to sit down and shut the fuck up. Now, this is a very infamous stretch of ECW history here. This promo immediately made the rounds. I remember listening to this on the internet. Oh, yeah. I remember listening to this as like an audio file on the internet at the time. Like it was a big deal. Like, oh my God, this was like
and the Mario rap. The only two things.
The only two things I could have. And the DuckTales theme.
And the DuckTales theme.
But another great rap. Mm-hmm. But this this was really, really famous at the time. Like, so it was
really.
Oh yeah, like the Dudleys are out of control. And it's to the point where when they eventually go to WWF, many folks thought like they're never going to make it because they can't do this. Like this is how much it kind of became known for, like that they do this and how out of hand this gets. right out of the gate. I mean, do you remember, Matt, at all? Like, I know you're a little bit younger, but do you remember any of this, like, at the time?
I definitely remember, like, not at the time, but like a couple of years later when the Dudleys had already been in WWE. I remember this kind of popping up again and being like, whoa,
Right.
what the fuck is this? Like, this is what they were doing in ECW? Like, holy shit.
Yeah, it was crazy at the time. It was like, what the hell is this, you know?
I guess, I mean, to me, it was just another Dudley's promo, dude. I've been watching them for years now. I don't know. Like,
You didn't think this was more dramatic than other ones they've done?
it was a step up, but things
But at the
in life
time, it was like a big deal because you got to think too, like the other ones hadn't really. I don't know. This was just for whatever reason. It was a pay-per-view. Like the things they say to the crowd, it was like it just wasn't done really. You know what I mean? Anywhere. So when this hit, it was like, holy shit! Like this is nuts. It was definitely for a long time on the internet before things became more attainable. It was one of those like viral things. It was a viral thing in the early days of wrestling internet. It was like
I definitely remember
everyone had heard
watching
this
it.
promo on some file somewhere.
I definitely remember it popping up as like one of the first big wrestling things on YouTube I saw, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So is this Paulie talking through them, or
No, I'm guessing it's just them. I think he probably said go out there and push it a little bit. And
okay?
so, all right, let's get into what happens. We'll talk about it more. All right, so Bubba gets the mic. He says he hates being a Dayton and the fans are low class, white trash pieces of garbage. Cyrus says some people just hate hearing the truth. And Joey says the Dudleys cheat every night. Bubba says everyone will find out tonight why they're the best team in the world. And if they have the time, they would come out there and kick every fan's ass. Bubba points to the crowd and says we have a bleep in a Hawaiian shirt. I'm guessing something that would be offensive during Pride Month. A mom in the front row who taught her daughter how to suck dick. That was the infamous one. Like, that was the line that really stood out. It's like, oh, what the fuck? Like, you know, that was like really. And then an ugly skankosaurus that will take 9 inches of black dick so far up her ass, she doesn't know what hit her. Cyrus says that is a party he would like to go to. And then he asks, is that woman in the front row your wife, Joey? That Joey referenced earlier.
Cyrus was getting his digs in. Joey was having none of this.
He was having a coronary.
Yeah.
Bubba says no fans here have the guts to do anything about it. Joey asks the security surround the ring. Bubba dares a fan to come in and jaws with him, calling him a fat, bald motherfucker. Says the fan is a little confused since he won't come to them. The Dudleys will go to them. They head out and get in the fan's face. He doesn't back down. They just keep jawing. Bubba grabs a beer and dumps it on a fan nearby. He calls the blowjob woman a skank again. She spits at him and he spits back at her. Bubba then dares her to come do something. He calls her a whore. They head back in the ring. As Cyrus says that woman has no class. Joey says this isn't funny and doesn't want to be involved. Gertner takes over and does his intros now from there. Again, infamous promo. I thought, Bubba delivered it flawlessly. I mean, I thought like he was on fire. Balls and his tag team partner in the match is Spike Dudley. They come out to Big Pop to get us moving along. Tough act to follow. So again, we'll pause here for a second. I really think those two lines about the women were the ones that really made this as infamous as it was. Mm-hmm. There's nothing you heard. They've insulted the crowd. Others have insulted the crowd. But to say a mom taught her daughter to suck a guy's dick and to take, 9 inches up your ass. Like, I mean, it was pretty. It was pretty.
Look,
pretty
in my defense, I've been watching a lot of Game of Thrones, so
Again, it's now I can see it like being like whatever. But at the time, this is like mind blowing shit that they're doing this on pay per view. Like,
right?
I mean, them spitting at each other was obviously,
right. We're 2 years like removed from, or 3 years, only 3 years removed from like Shawn Michaels and Diana Smith coming on to me, like, and then, they weren't saying anything like this, right? Like, so this is, pretty, WWF was edging this way in 99. They did a lot of crazy shit in 99 too. Like, we're only 3 months from Miss Kitty showing her tits on pay-per-view, right? So like, it's not too crazy, but this again was a pretty big deal at the time. For sure, Matt.
The original Hawk 2 girl.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. I mean, it was, yes. I mean, it was, I don't think I'm being crazy. It was viral in 1999 world of wrestling internet. Like, this was, you were downloading this file and listening to it and being like, oh,
just
shit.
That and the Mario rap on a loop over there.
One step, and then again, let's do the Mario all together.
You want to hear Captain Lou say things like that.
She was good, Mario.
But yeah, I mean, it was it was a lot, especially for the time. Like if you look at it in a 1999 lens, it's like, like this just wasn't happening on wrestling TV really anywhere. Like maybe in the indies somewhere, but like as far as like the big three of wrestling, this type of shit like this to this level just wasn't really happening. And I do feel like, this is like 10 minutes long too. And I think it's another case where Paulie was like, all right, go out there and kill 10 minutes. Just piss off everybody in the fucking building, which was fine. I mean, it fucking worked, but I think it's another.
I think they're trying to think of ways too to like just keep enhancing the Dudley. Like we got the fire now. Now we got that. Like they're really just trying to push the envelope with them as far as they can to say, this is another version of like extreme in ECW, and again, I'm sure they're plans, right? I don't think he's really calling out a
They were smiling. That's why I was like, like, I don't know.
And I think that's part of it. I think we talked about this a little bit on a past episode where it's like, there's no real challengers for the Dudleys outside of Spike and Balls. So you kind of have to have the Dudleys do shit like this to get people talking. Because otherwise it's just, they're having these street fights with Spike and Balls. And then they're going to face who? Like Chetty and Nova? So you kind of have to have the Dudleys have something else besides their in-ring stuff. So have them go out there and just piss 5,000 people off with their words. So, I mean, it worked. It definitely worked. But I think on this show, given some of the stuff we've seen and how light this show has been so far, I do feel like this was like, all right, we got, we need 10 minutes, go out there, here's a microphone, do your thing. And it was still very good for that, but I think that's kind of ultimately what this was for. So, but it was still like, it's a lot, Jenny.
It's a lot. Yeah. And
it worked. It got talked about.
Oh no, totally.
For sure. Yeah. My notes say finally the match starts. So, it took a hot minute.
It was long.
Let's get to it. Joey knows that Balls is wearing long sleeves tonight to care for second-degree burns. Balls grabs the mic. He fires at the crowd. It says the Dudley's reign ends tonight in a Dayton street fight. Falls will count anywhere in the fucking building. This was like very GCW vibes to me. Like it's kind of like a promo. A random guy comes out. Now we're making a street fight. Like it felt very like you could feel obviously GCW aping this, but you could feel that where that like lineage comes from. With the style that they do with this, where it's kind of all over the place. The champs hop in the ring. The fight is now with all four throwing down. Bubba slams Spike over the top hard on the ramp. Balls knocks down Devon. Balls unloads a flurry of punches, grabs a chair, but Bubba ducks and slams Balls hard with it, bending it in half. Spike dodges a chair shot outside, buries Bubba with an acid drop on the ramp. Devon hammers Balls, shoots him into the railing. Spike walks the whole ramp, comes back sprinting. Bubba just ducks and throws him into the ring. Bubba hammers on Balls outside. Devon uses the ring bell on Spike, slicing him open. Devon works him over while Balls rallies and smashes Bubba with a cup of beer. They spill into the crowd. Spike takes out Devon with a head scissors as Bubba and Balls get back in the ring. Bubba abuses Balls with strikes and beats on him with a Dudley Street sign. Devon and Spike are trading blows at ringside. Bubba reaches out and smacks Spike hard with the sign, uses a cheese grater to slice Balls up. Balls rallies with a super kick. He smashes Bubba with the cheese grater, rips him apart with it after he licks it.
Ugh.
Disgusting. Devon is dragging Spike through the crowd, hammering away as he's pouring blood. Balls and Bubba amble out through the crowd now as things have slowed down. All four go to the back of the building. Spike scales the steps to a balcony and flies off into his brothers to a pop. Balls drags Devon to the ring, smacks him with drinks along the way. Devon turns the tide, attacks the cut. As Cyrus is impressed with Balls' resiliency after these weeks of attacks. Balls gets a super kick as Bubba and Spike return. Bubba goes to the middle rope. Spike pops up and goes low. We get the stereo 10 punches by the challengers. However, the champions counter into stereo super power bombs. The Dudleys drag Balls and Spike to their knees, wipe their blood, and smack them around before unloading more strikes, continuing to pick them apart. Balls and Spike duck clotheslines for stereo neck breakers for 2. Balls gets a sit-out powerbomb, and Spike hits the acid drop for more near falls. The challengers go low. We get stereo nutcracker sweet acid drop, but Sign Guy pulls the ref out. Balls pulls off Joel's bandages, and the champs take back over. The Dudleys line up a 3D, but Balls scoops Bubba. Spike twists into an inside cradle for the upset win. Wow. Kind of a tempered pop. It's almost like no one believed that was the finish. And it was a little bit muted. The Dudleys attack after the bell. They beat down the new champions and leave them laid out. The champs set up tables, put them on fire, and put Spike through one. They try to repeat the Balls table, but Bubba drops him before he can get him through the table, and he lands hard on his neck. And then he couldn't get the table lit again, so that pretty much ends there. Natural Born Killers fires up. Out comes New Jack. He's got his bucket of plunder to a pop. New Jack cleans house with weapons and leaves the Dudleys in a heap, and then rallies the new champions. But Joey is worried about Balls' neck, which I was too, because that was a pretty nasty fall. So this is hard hitting. It had some heavy, brutal offense, tons of blood mixed in, extreme violence as always. The crowd was kind of in and out, not nearly as engaged. And I hate to always lean on this, but I think this would have been a cool moment in the arena or Queens. But I get why you want to have this on pay-per-view, but they need to find ways to better engage the bigger arena crowds. Because right now, if you're going to do these shows on pay-per-view and do big moments, which you should, you got to have the crowd there for you, because your whole history of your promotion has been built on these hot crowds that will react like, insanity for these big moments. And this is an all-time moment of Balls and Spike toppling them after what they put them through. The Dudleys, reign finally comes to an end. Balls gets revenge. The gold gets another crispy assault. That felt gratuitous, but again, I get why they wanted to do it on pay-per-view, right? We got to sort in one arena, we sort another arena, and they want to make sure we get the big pay-per-view moment. So, whatever. What I don't like about it is the fans are starting to wait for it. So they were a little bit out on some of the stuff because they just wanted to see the fire table. Once it fully makes the rounds, I think a lot of the fans are going to be kind of waiting for it overall. The New Jack stuff was kind of whatever. He makes a surprise return for the fucking
70th
time. And every time he comes back, it's he's back. I didn't know he left.
For like 2 weeks.
Yeah, right.
Whatever.
So Matt went 2 3/4. I mean, it was kind of standard fare for these dudes. And I wish a moment got a better reaction and was more clear of what was happening versus how it went down. Because again, I think the crowd didn't really anticipate or expect it, and was kind of like, "Oh, wait, that's not really the finish." And then, "Oh shit, it is the finish."
Yeah, that was the thing. The finish was super weird to this match. It was a fine finish doing the small package, but I just think, to your point, the crowd didn't really know what was happening. And I think the match itself, it was good, but we've kind of seen it all before. And I think we've talked about this before too with other matches, but to me, this match lost some of its impact just because we've seen this style a lot lately from these teams, and it's kind of lessening as we see it more and more. This is the 5th time in a month that Spike and or Balls has gone through a flaming table, and it's all cool, but I think it's getting to a point where you're going to start losing that moment if you keep doing it over and over again.
Yeah.
It's cool for the touring crowd. If you're in Dayton, Ohio, and you're watching this for the first time, seeing the flaming table is awesome. But if you're like us and you're watching this stuff week in and week out, it's okay, he goes through the flaming table again for the 5th time in 5 weeks, So the match itself was the standard stuff we've seen out of these teams. It was super fun. Spike does the balcony dive again, which was cool. Cool to see New Jack back. I don't think he's been on since the whole weird fucking Mustafa thing in March. So it's good to see him back out of nowhere. But I mean, the match itself was fairly standard stuff for them, and probably a little bit lesser, honestly, than what we've seen out of these two teams before. So 2 3/4 for me, Jenny.
Yeah, I have a lot of the same feelings as you guys. I like that they kept it mostly in the ring. Spike did do that insane dive again. That was awesome. And I like the running start that he does when he runs up the ramp. That was pretty great. I just like Spike in general. The cheese grater spots were awesome. Lots of blood. Loved that. I love the tandem tag team moves that Spike and Balls do so well. They have a lot of natural chemistry together, and they can pull off those double moves. And the crowd was waiting for the flaming tables. That's why they didn't believe that finish, because that's what they wanted to see. And I can't really blame them. Flaming tables are cool as fuck. I'm not exactly tired of them yet, but I'm a little bit more hardcore than y'all. So
I'm not even tired of it, but again, I think it starts to make it where, and it would get this way later with the Dudleys and the WWF too with the tables. When you do it, when you make it conditioned, is it's going to happen. It ends up, and it's so cool. You just end up, the crowd just kind of waits on it every time, and it's
exactly.
All right, this isn't ending until we get the flaming table. Let's get to that. So it's almost like they didn't buy the inside cradle because they were waiting.
Exactly.
The level of violence had escalated so much that they were waiting for almost like Bubba to die for them to actually lose the titles. You know what I mean?
So it's a pretty clever ending, honestly. The crowd didn't get it, and that's unfortunate. It didn't kind of come through, but I liked it. I like the ending. I'm super stoked to have new tag champs, and I was very surprised because I did not think that they would win. The post-match beatdown was very good. Typical stuff. I love the tables again. New Jack returning. Okay. Um, it's always fun when his music hits and he comes out with all his plunder. So it's nice for the crowd to get to see him, but we'll see. I don't know. I never know with that guy. So I'm with you guys 2 3/4 stars.
All right. Tommy Dreamer and Francine come out. Tommy's in street clothes. He's got black shorts and a silk button down with a shell necklace. Very 1999.
Love it.
Joey says Tommy has 2 herniated discs and his career is in jeopardy. Tommy rallies the crowd. He's ready to get drunk and naked for a big after party tonight. He says you're supposed to come out here for a big announcement, and there's a lot of TV and pay-per-view reps here. 3 weeks ago, he watched a pay-per-view called WWF King of the Ring. And last week, he watched a pay-per-view that put him to sleep called WCW Bash at the Beach. And that had nothing to do with the wrestlers who deserve all the praise and credit. They have a couple matches to go here tonight. And he says, is this the pay-per-view standard to set? And they got to pop an ECW champ. Tommy says he has 2 parts of his announcements. The first is reminding everyone that ECW will be on Friday nights at 8 p.m. on TNN. And that gets a big TNN chant. He says 86 million US and 17 million Canadian viewers can watch our show. He thanks the fans for all of it. He wrestled on ECW shows with 50 fans, and the wrestlers put on a hell of a show, and it grew and grew and grew, and now the Hara Arena is sold out. They had small houses and 1 TV station, and now they've achieved pay-per-view and a national television deal, and now he wants ECW to be number 1 in the world. Tommy starts to tear up. His voice cracks as he gets to the second part of his announcement, and he says it'll be even harder. The crowd starts to chant, please don't go. Tommy says, I'm not leaving. I'm going to die in this company. The crowd chants, we love Tommy. Joey and Cyrus try to figure out why he's so emotional. Tommy says he didn't expect to say this at age 28. But before he can finish, Steve Corino's music fires up, and he walks out behind Rhino, who's pushing Victory in the wheelchair. Corino stops on the ramp and says he's sorry to break up this sad announcement. And he says Tommy never thought he'd go on pay-per-view and announce he's a 28-year-old has-been. Corino gets to the ring. He says Tommy's a casualty of stupid hardcore wrestling, and for 6 years, he has slaved through ECW, fallen from 18 tables, bashed with chairs more than anybody else, and spilled more blood than any wrestler in ECW. And all Tommy got is physical therapy that doesn't work. 2 herniated discs that it won't get better, and Tommy needs back surgery. So 1 + 1 + 1 equals Tommy's career is over. Cyrus and Joey piece the puzzle together. Joey says back in 1993, Tommy wore suspenders. He was in great shape and slapped hands and smiled. Corino said he respects him for being a wrestler, but over time, the fans got to him and made him a cancer in ECW. And the W in ECW still stands for wrestling. And say, do they pay to see Francine? That gets a pop. After all the tables, chairs, and pints of blood, he wants to know if it was worth it for the fans, and Tommy nods yes. Corino says Tommy is nuts. He's dead. He's got no career, and he has to retire. Needs surgery, and screams, what is wrong with you? Corino says he's only 24 years old in the shape of his life with no scars because he wrestles and gives the fans what they want. Old school wrestling like Memphis. Tommy has to prove he's the innovator of violence, and now he'll never wrestle on TNN, and Corino will. Corino says Tommy can do the right thing, lay down in the ring, and Corino can cover him, hook the leg because he respects the veteran, and then elevate his career to superstardom, and Tommy can go to pasture and get a job as a secretary, and Heat Wave will be his night. Tommy looks forlorn, looks to the crowd as Cyrus says Tommy should just do the right thing here. Tommy says he doesn't care if he's in a wheelchair. He'll never lie down. You put Corino over because he's been here 6 years. Corino's been here 4 months, and it's him breaking his back for the fans, and Corino can shove it up his ass. Tommy goes to leave. Corino punches him in the back, hammers away as he talks shit about pension plans, and begs Tommy to fight back. Tommy bows up and no-sells all of Corino's punches and chops. He knocks Corino down and works him over. Francine gives Corino the Bronco Buster, hits a swinging DDT, and covers Corino, and the ref counts 3. Tajiri sneaks in and kicks Tommy in the head as they celebrate. Francine comes over and slaps Tajiri, but he kicks her in the leg. Victory and Rhino get in the ring, and they detain Francine as Corino waves the Japanese flag while Tajiri hooks the tarantula on Tommy. Taz's music hits. Out he comes. Tommy's hanging on to Tajiri to keep him tied up in the ropes, which is a great moment, and Joey calls it out too. He says Tommy's sacrificing himself for ECW one more time as he holds on to Tajiri to allow Taz to kick him in the head, and we are ready for our world title match. This was a great segment. Corino continues to be on fire. Really well done. It felt legit and big time, not just him being a punk. His stable is coming along well. Tajiri makes it extra lethal. It's kind of the big piece he was missing to make them feel legit. We'll see what's going on with Tommy. For now, it seems like maybe he's in trouble, but this never felt too legitimate of a retirement, the way they kind of rolled it out there. So you knew it was coming to be an angle more than anything, Jenny. But what did you think of this segment leading into the main event?
Wow, I was shocked. Like, this is Carino's best stuff, and I know we've been enjoying him a lot, but he really brought it during this promo. He was intense. He didn't stumble. Like, he made his points, and some people would say that might be a little bit valid. But I'm a Tommy Dreamer girl through and through, and Tommy did not let me down in this segment. He was perfect. When he started getting emotional, I mean, I wasn't buying it, obviously, but still, it choked me up a little because Tommy's getting choked up in the ring. I believe he loves ECW with his whole heart and would do anything for this promotion, and I've always believed that about him. And Tajiri coming in, kicked Francine. Now, that was wrong.
Hard in the leg, yeah.
Oh, that was a bad little kick she took, and I was like, oh fuck. Yeah, and then the scene breaking down was great. Like, waving the Japanese flag was ridiculous. But Tommy hanging on to that to the ropes in the tarantula was just awesome, and I love that moment. This is great. Like, no time wasted here. All very well used time, Maddie.
Yeah, this was fantastic stuff. Dreamer was great, like hyping everybody up at the beginning, saying WWF sucks, WCW's pay-per-view sucks. I thought that was great. Carino coming out saying Dreamer's a casualty of hardcore wrestling. I thought that was a fantastic line from him, saying he deserved everything he got coming to him. The therapy isn't working, shit like that. Just, yeah, Carino was fantastic here. And then even like the little brawl they had was really good too, with the punch, like that punch that Dreamer hits Carino with out of the corner was fantastic. So, like, the only argument you could make here is that this whole thing didn't necessarily belong on a pay-per-view, but to me, when you have a pay-per-view that's been this light in content so far, it's like, if you're doing something that, like, this is arguably the best thing we've seen on the show so far. So, like, I don't have an issue with it at all. Like, if you're going to do a segment that's this good, fuck it, throw it on pay-per-view. Who cares? But, I mean,
well, you could argue it might be bigger than any match they would have. You know what I mean? Like this is a top angle. So, and it leads right into the match. I think.
Yeah, I loved it leading into the match. That was really good.
And it gets Dreamer on the pay-per-view. Dreamer's one of the big stars too. That. So yeah, this was just, and then the way it bled into, to your point, Tajiri coming in, leading right to the title match. I thought just everything about this was really well done. So yeah, fantastic stuff here.
All right, world title time. Taz versus Tajiri. Taz stomps and slugs away viciously. Tajiri catches him with a handspring elbow, spin kick to knock Taz to the floor. Tajiri slides out after, slings him to the railing, into the crowd, meets him with a huge Asai moonsault. Taz slowly crawls back to the ring, where Tajiri meets him with boots. Cyrus talks about Tajiri rejecting the U.S. lifestyle, rambles on Joey trying to figure out what he's even talking about. Tajiri tries for the tarantula, but Taz counters the Alabama slam, stomps away. Taz slips out of a German, kicks the knees, and gets 2 on a roll-up. Tajiri lands a boot, goes to a nerve hold, then into a sleeper, but Taz breaks out with a back suplex. Taz kicks at Tajiri, runs into a boot before catching Tajiri on a charge and burying him with a head and arm to a pop. Taz bows up to the crowd, stomps away, and chokes him with the bottom rope. Tajiri recovers the enziguri as he keeps targeting the rehab neck of Taz. He kicks away, but Taz takes him out of the corner with an overhead belly-to-belly. Tajiri goes low to break a waist lock and then unloads 2 head kicks and a low drop kick for a near fall. Tajiri loads chops. He heads up top. Taz shoves him, and he flies into Carino on the ramp. Taz follows out. He stalks Victory and then wheels him, stops short, so he pops up and slings him to the wheelchair into his face. It was just a nasty spot.
That was awesome.
Tajiri kicks Taz down. Taz blocks a Rana to a powerbomb on the ramp as Rhino sets up a table against the ropes. Taz snaps the Japanese flag and calls for kicks, which Tajiri keeps pelting him with. Taz keeps asking for more, blocks one and cradles Tajiri and takes him hard through a table with a suplex. Taz stalks Carino to the back as Cyrus says the Japanese are very trusting people. Taz crawls down the ramp as Taz is messing with the Tajiri calls on the ramp as Taz is messing with the entranceway, pulls out a piece of barbed wire. Joey begs the camera to stay wide and says Taz is selfish. This will get them off a pay-per-view. Taz chokes Tajiri at the barbed wire, drops into the Taz mission as officials and Carino pour out to break him up. The bell rings as the announcer comes out and asks Taz what he's doing. But Taz just slings him into the crowd and says he's the world champion and leaves. And Joey says in that mess, Tajiri did indeed tap out to the Taz mission. Really fun match. Look, we've waited for Taz to get legit competition where he wasn't as dominating and still would be presented like a badass. And this was that. Tajiri was right there with him. It was hard hitting the whole way. It felt real. It was tight and locked in. It wasn't long either, so it was able to maintain the intensity. Good use of the Carino crew. It wasn't overbearing, but they played a role. And then the nasty finish with the choke out with the barbed wire. So this is really well done. We need more of this with Taz having competitive, matches like this, like guys like Sabu. I went 3.5 stars. The only thing I didn't like was the wide angle on the finish. You couldn't really tell what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see if they kind of help us in the weeks to come with to piece this together. But I couldn't even tell it was barbed wire at first. I had to really kind of go and like look at it again. I thought it was just a piece of the fence. And they couldn't really, because of the way they were shooting it, you couldn't really get over that he was like basically choking him out with barbed wire, which is pretty sick. But like you don't get to see the impact of it as well, Jenny. So again, great match. Awesome for Taz. Tajiri looked like a star. I just wish that finish could have been a little bit crisper.
I'm with you on the finish for sure. I like the look of it, and I like Joey saying, stay wide, like he's panicking. I love that because it seems just very chaotic towards the end. Bells ringing and you can't really see what's going on. So I kind of love that part, but yeah, I mean, I definitely want to see the barbed wire around Tajiri's neck. Like, that's awesome. But yeah, all the stuff on the ramp was really cool.
Also, one thing I want to say, I'm sorry, because I don't want to forget. I don't mean to interrupt you, but
no, you're fine.
But it's on the point you just made. Joey, they go wide, right? So we don't get to see it. But Joey says we're going to get thrown off pay-per-view, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. Doing that after Bubba, says a mom taught her daughter to suck dick.
Yep.
Like, it rings a little hollow. And I do think it actually hurt the credibility of this a little bit to say, like, he didn't say that earlier. He was aghast at it, but he wasn't like, oh, we're in trouble. Even if he just would have said here, like, oh, man, after Bubba said what he said and now Taz is doing this, this is too much, right? Like it just made it seem like, I don't know. It's one of those things where it's almost like they didn't think the whole card through with how they wanted to play the wide shot of the finish. So anyway, I wanted to get that out before I forgot the point.
I like your point, but at the same time, it's words versus barbed wire around a guy.
I know,
so
but it's
it's just way more violent visually. And
I know.
But yeah, I mean, Taz was great. I didn't know what to expect here because these guys do not have the same style. And Tajiri works quick. Taz is, I don't know. He's just not a quick wrestler. He has an amble to him. And I didn't know how the styles would mix, but the styles were Taz just fucked him up most of the match. So again, another dominant performance by him. Tajiri was really good, but I feel like there could have been a little bit more before he got choked out with the barbed wire. Maybe could have given it was short, and I do like a shorter Taz match, but maybe just a few more minutes of some Tajiri stuff I might have needed in there. But overall, this was great, and it looked like an iconic moment, even though I couldn't see it. So 3.5 stars.
Yeah, so I went lower than you guys, and it is because of the finish, because it bugged the shit out of me. The match itself was great. I went 3 stars on the match, but I docked it because of the finish. It's like, to JT's point, 45 minutes prior to this, you had a man going through a flaming table. That was fine, but barbed wire's a no-no. Barbed wire that you couldn't even see when they were zoomed in on Taz. That's no-go. So that was the thing that really bugged me, and to Jenny's point, I would have liked to have seen this match go a little bit longer before Taz fucking kills Tajiri. Maybe literally with the barbed wire he did. Because, I think, we don't have any challengers for Taz, And, it was 50-50 for a while, but eventually Taz just does what he does to everybody else and fucking kills him. So, I feel like if it was more 50-50 for longer, it would have helped Tajiri out. It would have helped Taz out. Because now I kind of feel like now that Tajiri lost in 10 minutes and got fucking possibly killed with barbed wire. It's like we're kind of back to where we were a month ago, where Taz doesn't.
It almost felt like they panicked, threw him in there just to fill the slot because they do it last minute. But
yeah,
I don't know. I think Tajiri's still credible enough to weasel his way into another title match with the way he's been presented overall. The other thing I will say, and this kind of goes against, I guess, what I was saying earlier, but if there is anything that's been solidified in ECW as over the top, they did do it with the Sabu Born to Be Wired match, right? With Funk or whatever, where they didn't air it because it was so vicious and violent with the barbed wire. So I guess at least with that, you know, I would say maybe, I guess that you could lean on that, right? To say like barbed wire is the most vicious
line.
thing in
It's like it's kind of their line,
right? They couldn't even air the last time they had a barbed wire match because it was so vicious that they couldn't do it, and now he's choking a man to death with it. So I guess I just don't think, even if they're not going to show it, Joey didn't describe it well enough to say, "Oh my God, he is literally choking Tajiri to death."
He just
with
kept
the barbed
saying
wire.
"Go wide" in a panic.
Go wide.
And then he's like, "Oh, by the way, he tapped out to the Taz mission." Like, I'm like, what? Like, did he just have it like in his mouth? Did he have it wrapped on his fucking neck? Like Joey could have been more descriptive. So I think it's kind of there is where my issue is. Like, he could have described it better if they were going to go this route.
And you've said this before, JT. It felt like it was too cute for ECW.
Right.
You know, it was just like it was too much going on. So I like the match. I still went 3 stars on it, but God, that finish bugged the hell out of me.
The worst bump Taz took is when he hurt his ass on the ramp when he did the sit out power bomb on Tajiri. Because like it looked like that hurt his own ass. So yeah.
All right. Joey and Cyrus reset before our main event, which is the Impact Players taking on Rob Van Dam and Jerry Lynn. And it is interesting to me that this is our main event over Taz. And it's starting to show that RVD's title reign, I believe, is elevating him so far, maybe even past the World Championship level. The lack of challengers also is not helping. And I never thought it's a comparison I would make, but Taz's title reign is starting to feel a little bit Ultimate Warrior 1990-ish, where only with WWF, they didn't establish heels to take on the Warrior. ECW, all the big names left before Taz finally won the belt. Right. So he's kind of been in this weird limbo where none of his feuds are like main event worthy level. Like we've already seen the Kazito match, the Bubba thing, and now this, like where RVD and the Impact Players are main eventing over Taz. And it's like these are the hottest guys in the promotion, but it's like they don't want to feed any of them to Taz. So Taz is in a way almost just too strong, man. You kind of hinted at it a minute ago, but it's like he's almost too big and too strong because all these guys could be legit contenders. Taz versus Lynn, Taz versus RVD, Credible and Storm have been established pretty well as top players. And it's like, you don't want to do it because you don't want them to get choked out. You know, in the long game, if the long game is RVD, you know, being the guy, like we got to get there sooner or later. So,
booked into a corner or some such.
No,
that's how I feel.
I mean, I hate to say it, but Taz is creeping toward the public enemy territory a little bit, where it's like you almost be better off if he leaves. I mean, I hate to say it, like Douglas was kind of there too. It's like he's been there for so long, and he finally got over the mountain. It's like what is there going on for him to do? Like,
it's diminishing returns at this point.
Yeah, almost. You know, better with him, and you know, we'll see. But you know, you're almost better with him if he takes a deal and goes at this point to get him out of the way, so you can elevate RVD to that level.
Right.
All right, the Impact Players are in the ring with their own entrances. Huge rise for them. Great package. Suddenly main event, take a pay-per-view and a big-time match. Storm Incredible with Dawn here. No extras beyond that. No Jason. Lynn is out first, followed by RVD and Fonzie to a big pop. Long entrance. The stage is set for battle. Joey talks about RVD's wife's jet ski accident and the ongoing rehab she has. RVD and Lynn are uneasy with each other. They stare down. We get into it. And rolling after some stalling. Lynn and Credible get us going with a lockup. Some quick Credible strikes in the corner. Lynn turns him around and unloads. Credible tries an early That's Incredible. We get a series of reversals. Credible blocks a cradle pile driver. That goes into another flurry of strikes and counters. Lynn gets a bulldog. He cleans out Storm. Slingshots Credible over the top onto Storm. We reset with RVD and Storm getting some chain work into an RVD monkey flip. Storm slings RVD to the corner, misses a pair of charges. And after another flurry of counters, Storm gets a single leg crab. RVD breaks out and buries a sidekick, tags Lynn, but Storm takes over with some punches and chops. Lynn fights out of the Impact Player corner. Storm keeps hammering away. Lynn gets an abdominal stretch. We get some counters into a Lynn snapping Storm's neck across the top rope. Lynn fires away. Credible lands the knee to the back of the apron, slashes Lynn with a cane after Storm kicks out of a roll-up. Credible tags in. He stomps and chokes away in the corner, sets up a chair in his face and rams his knee into it. Credible gets a sit-out powerbomb for 2, chops some more and tags Storm, who gets a great standing drop kick, gets a hug and a kiss from Dawn. Lynn tries to punch back into things, but eats a boot and a charge. Lynn shakes that off. We get a quick flurry of pin attempts, and both end with a Storm mule kick and super kick for 2. Cyrus keeps hyping up Storm, takes a funny dig at Chris Jericho as the Impact players continue to tag and work over Lynn. Credible drills Lynn with a razor's edge for 2 as Joey talks about the friendship between Credible and Scott Hall. Storm is back in and chops away, tries to springboard chair shot, but Lynn drop kicks into his face to a pop. Credible comes in, but Lynn DDTs him on the chair. Credible tags Storm just as RVD tags in and they throw down into an RVD double underhook gourd buster and spin kick. He kicks and slugs away, nails a leaping side kick off the top. RVD's playing to the crowd. It's an atomic drop, gets a seated drop kick with a chair to send Storm outside. RVD meets him with a baseball slide, knocks Storm into the crowd, and meets him with a super Van Daminator. Lynn grabs Credible, bulldogs him on the ramp as RVD and Storm battle on the floor. RVD charges, Storm ducks, he flies into the fans. Cyrus points out that Lynn and RVD have not worked together as RVD barrels into Storm with a somersault senton. Credible DDTs Lynn on the ramp. Back inside, RVD misses a slingshot leg drop. RVD rallies with a corkscrew leg drop. Credible makes a save. He dips out, avoiding RVD. RVD puts Storm up top and slugs away, but Storm shoves him to the mat and follows with a super spin kick for 2. RVD gets rolling thunder onto a chair. And then for 2, Credible finally goes in on RVD, who shoots Credible hard to the corner. He flies over the top to the floor. Fonzie sets up Credible on a table. RVD toe holds Storm into a chair. RVD goes up top. He stalls to play to the fans as Sabu comes in, flies off a chair through Justin Credible and the table to a pop. RVD turns as Storm bops Lynn with a chair and covers. RVD comes off the top with a 5-star frog splash, but Storm moves, and he bangs into Lynn for a great Storm near fall. RVD peppers Storm with a Van Daminator, and Lynn plants him with a cradle pile driver and picks up the win for the team. RVD and Lynn bicker after the match as Sabu watches. He gets pissy too. He shoves RVD and bangs into Lynn, and all three kind of start to argue as we go into a recap package that then takes us out off the air. This is very good, but I will say it was a little disappointing to me, given the talent and the feud and the chemistry. The crowd was mainly into it, dipped out a little bit. The finish was good as we get the RVD Lynn slip up, and they rally and get the rare clean win on Storm to end it. A fun and strong main event, but on paper, this should have been a classic in ECW. The Sabu moment was really cool. I like that. And Lynn kicking out of the 5-star sets him up again as a challenger for RVD. So I went 3.5, Matt. Again, I was thinking this was like an easy 4+. So when they come out and did this, I was like, I don't know if it being a tag match to close the pay-per-view hurt the crowd a little bit too. There's not a lot of stakes involved. Maybe it would be cool if you put RVD's title on the line in the match or something like that, just to give it a little bit of oomph. But at the very least, if it doesn't even need that, if you deliver in the ring, to me, this being sub 4 would be a disappointment in a way.
Yeah, I'm in lockstep with you. I went 3.5 on it. I almost wonder if they would have been better served just doing like RVD and Credible here in a singles match for the TV title. Maybe that would have gotten the crowd into it. I mean, like you said, they were very hot and cold during this match. The one that stuck out to me was that they were going for the hot tag for RVD, and the crowd just doesn't fucking react whatsoever. It's like, oh my God, like, what are we doing? So it was still very good. It's a good main event, but you could tell, like, I feel like they were kind of holding back a little bit too. And RVD and Lynn as a team is just very weird, given all the shit that's happened. Lynn quite literally broke his face 2 months ago, and now they're teaming with each other. It's very weird as good as the match was. So, and also they like legit burned like 10 minutes with the entrances too. Like those entrances are still fucking going. Good Lord. But it is a good match, but to your point, like the fact that this was not an all-time classic, like it's super disappointing. And part of me kind of wanted the Impact players to win this too, like have Credible, not necessarily pin RVD, but have like Credible pin Lynn or something, setting up a TV title match.
I think the problem is they want Lynn to be. We'll see. I think they want to set up Lynn for either the next pay-per-view or maybe for TNN, because to me that seems to be their main focus. Was Lynn being strong, over the Impact players, and the Impact players have won a lot. So I mean, it kind of doesn't hurt too much. But I think Lynn getting a big win to close the pay-per-view is really what they wanted. Yeah.
So I mean, it is a good match, but they're definitely capable of more. I think so. 3.5 for me, Jenny.
Lynn winning is exactly what I wanted, which I was thrilled for. Like, he was the MVP of this match for me. RVD, very good as well. The other team, they're fine. Uh, Credible got that good cane shot to the face, but they were off. Like, something was weird with them. I didn't like their flow in this match.
I think Credible is. Yeah, I think he's probably risen just a little bit above his head. He's been really good from what we've seen, but I think he is limited. I think Storm's carrying him to an extent. So I think when push comes to shove in these big spots, he can only do so much, I think, in the ring. And I think that's going to hurt when we're looking for these classics that, I'd like to see how many, like, we've liked a lot of his matches, but if we look back, I'm guessing he's capped at 3 3/4. Like, I don't think he's gone much higher than that.
I've never been that high on him, honestly. But and RVD and Jerry Lynn are just so elite, at this point that it's really hard to like put to me for me to see Credible in there with them. Like, it just doesn't add up. All right, and they've been doing this for a while, but I don't know. In this match, it just looked like Jerry Lynn was so much better than everybody else. He kicked out of the fucking frog splash, so that's pretty iconic. It's the first time we've seen it, and I loved that part of this match. So I'm a little bit higher on it than you guys. The Sabu stuff at the end was pretty great. I've been waiting for them to, because they've been fighting their whole fucking tag team tenure, but they kind of really threw down at the end of this match to where it looked like you might get RVD versus Sabu or something like that. So, which I think is very good. So I bumped it up a little bit. I did 3 3/4.
We almost wonder if it would have been better if they did like a 4-way for the TV title. And you still kind of make it like a tag, but they're all out for themselves. Like, you could have done that.
That could have worked, yeah.
Now, in that case, RVD would have to get the win, but at least then maybe he pins Credible. So, like, Lynn still stays strong. Maybe he has a beat or something. And so you could have done that maybe, and that makes it feel a little bit more stakes,
Jerry Lynn is just a gem of a wrestler.
Like, he's amazing. Yeah. I mean,
I just can't.
I just think they probably don't want to run Lynn RVD again.
Right.
So they wanted to break it up.
If they run it again, you got to have Jerry Lynn win. And they're not taking the title off RVD right now.
At some point. All right. Let's get to our awards here. Best match. I ended up with Taz Tajiri. I mean, I had it tied with the main event, but I liked Taz Tajiri better. I just felt the stakes felt a little bit more. The heat was better and the finish was better.
I did the main event.
Yeah, I went with the main event too.
All right, worst match. I just went the opener, the Doring, Roadkill, Nova, Chetty.
Yep.
Best moment. I went the Dudley's all-time heat promo. I mean, we talked about the importance of it to ECW. It's an all-time moment. And I think the ball spike should have been there, but honestly, the way it ended didn't feel like a big moment. So, and we didn't really get the good fire thing because the ball's, getting dropped on his neck. So,
you know what? I popped. I don't care what the dumbasses in Dayton did on this night. I popped for Spike and Balls because I've been on their team since fucking day one, and I was thrilled. So that's my moment.
Yeah, I mean, it's either the Dudley's promo or the stuff with Dreamer, honestly.
Yeah, the Dreamer stuff was good too.
Yeah.
Most 90s, I went the insider lingo from Cyrus and also Dreamer's shell necklace. I mean, he just needed a little bottle of Stun in his hair, and he would have been good to
all of Tommy Dreamer on this night. Holy shit. Looked like he strolled out of Spencer's Gifts.
Yeah, he was very, very 90s. Him and Chetty are definitely headed to the Ricky Martin.
Yeah, Chetty too, yeah.
Maybe a little LFO.
Yeah.
A little.
Was O-Town a thing yet in 99?
Yeah, it could have been. And Len, maybe a little Len at that point. Yeah.
Jesus, that's a
Stock Rising. I went Jazz, Super Crazy, the Dudleys, Balls and Spike, Carino, Taz, Tajiri, Dreamer, and they're all great.
Yep.
I would add, it's going to kill me to say it, I would add Joey and Cyrus together because the banter was on point in this show. I find him sort of annoying, but then Cyrus actually had some pretty good points on commentary throughout this. Wrestling wise, he had jokes. He kept it short. He didn't insistently just the whole time. He got his
Mhm.
shit in, and he was really good with Joey. So I would say he would be rising for me.
I mean, Joey's been great for years alone, but
Yes.
we've seen him at times with a partner, and it's been pretty good. Like him and Rude was good. Him and Shane was really
Shane.
good.
Him and Shane.
Um, So I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, I think this has some potential because Cyrus is pretty funny, but he also knows the layout. Like he's not
He
overbearing.
does. Right.
Shane talked a lot, even though they were pretty good.
So much
Rude used
rambling.
to lay out too. Like he was pretty good at just kind of. Although Rude is almost like too soundbitey, like the way he would pop in with like
True.
little statements. But Sock falling, I guess, with Jason's nuts, really beating in the match, and then Jack Victory just taking that fucking wheelchair to the face.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I didn't even talk about that, but that was fucking amazing.
Balls' neck, I think, is falling.
Oh god, yeah, that was bad.
Yeah.
That was an ugly fall. I mean,
yeah,
he's taking some brutal shots, but that might have been the worst, honestly. And then final grade, I went 7 out of 10. I mean, look, a really good pay-per-view. I don't think I'd be mad if I dropped $30 for this 2.5 hours. I mean, it's still very, very good. To borderline great, I would say. It's not great though. Heat Wave 98 was one of the best pay-per-views they've ever done. It was awesome. Yep. This one's below that. We're just missing that classic to take it over the top. And the main event had the potential. Like if that main event hits what it could have been 4+, this goes up to probably like 8.5. Like that, a lot hinged on that and the finish of the Taz.
Yes.
If you see it and then you get a great main event, this is like rockets to show up.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of that filler that we talked about. There is some downtime, and then the end from when Taz pulls off the barbed wire to the end of the show was a tipping point. Like that was like a make or break, like all-time classic, or just a very good show.
Yep.
I was surprised by Jazz and Jason. That was like very delightful surprise. One of my favorite tag teams wins the championships. Tommy and Fran and their thing. Like once the show hit that point, I was like, at first I was a little bit unsure, but I think I'm going to go with the 7.5.
Yeah, I went 7 on it. It needed like one more thing. To your point, the main event needed to be great. It needed something like Hardcore Heaven had, right? Not necessarily that good, but it needed one more great thing on this show. So I mean, it's still a good show, but yeah, there was potential for more here for sure. So 7 for me.
All right, so that'll do it for tonight's episode. Hopefully everyone enjoyed it. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time. We'll be covering the next 3 weeks of television as we start to move toward a couple of big events, right? We have our next pay-per-view, which will be just about 2 months out in early September. But we also have, of course, the debut of TNN. So we'll be talking about it more as we get closer, but we will be covering both the TNN show and continue to cover Hardcore TV as we move forward. So we'll be covering kind of double those plus the pay-per-views over the next year or so as the TNN show lasts until about September of 2000. So we'll be hitting those as we move forward. So honestly, we're not too far away from getting that. We'll be there in a month from today. We'll be hitting the first TNN show. So stay with us. Subscribe to everything we talked about earlier. Follow us on social media as well to keep updated. Stay extreme. We'll talk to you in a couple weeks. It's a Heat Wave.